The Ultimatum. It may be Netflix's dumbest show. I don't know why I said maybe. We all know that it is. Netflix has a good number of reality TV dating shows. Most of them have good concepts. Like, for example, Love is Blind, which we cover on this channel occasionally. That has an actually good concept. It's like, hey, let's grab a bunch of singles who are ready for commitment, take appearance out of the equation until there's some emotional bond formed, and let's see, will that create stronger marriages? The Ultimatum has no concept. They just round up a bunch of couples who are ready for marriage. At least one partner is. And the other one is dragging their feet. And then Netflix grabs them by the throat, throws them on the show, and says, hey, make a decision. Get married or die. And then they execute all the couples at the end of the season. They go to the altar. There's a guillotine waiting for them. It's a wonderful show. Okay, so they don't die. It's either like, hey, it's get married or break up. But they drag this simple show out for 2 months and 10 episodes. Season 3 recently released, and it's a good season, all right? Like, what do you want me to say? It's the Los Angeles season, right? So, you know it's all gonna be a bunch of really attractive people. Like, all the archetypes are here. We have emotionally unstable artists. We have fitness influencer bro. We have LA party girl. And we also have what is probably the most infuriating gaslighter I've ever seen ever. Here is Netflix's grand process. It takes place over 2 months. They bring in 6 different couples. Again, one wants to get married, one is unsure. The first thing that they do is all the couples break up. I put that in quotations because they all call each other exes, but they're going to get back together in a couple weeks. But for the first week, they are going to basically date all the other singles in the show. They are all meant to select one person to spend the next 3 weeks with. They're going to go through like a mock marriage. So they're gonna live together, sleep in the same bed, day to day, go on dates, all the things that a married couple is supposed to do. Then after those 3 weeks are up, they get back with their original partner, where they then do the same thing. They get in a mock marriage. They live together, sleep in the same bed, yada yada, dates. Blah. Oh, they're also supposed to meet each other's family and friends to get their approval and, you know, all that stuff. That's fun.
I call her my wifey, like I'm calling her baby.
Wifey.
And then finally, the very last phase of the show is, hey, are you gonna break up or are you gonna get engaged? Make a choice. Usually with this type of show, there's a bit of a slow ramp into the season just because they come in a very serious part of their relationship where they're thinking about spending the rest of their lives together. So they're not really gonna be acting out, acting wild, getting crazy. Except this season, it's a little different.
JR is hot.
Mariah is beautiful. I want to get to know her.
Opening night, we are introduced to all the couples. They all come in to sit at a table together just to be like, hey guys, here's what the show's about. Singing Matt Damon's there. He's always like, hey, guys, lean into this experiment. Guys, I want you to lean in. Lean into this.
Lean into this experience.
Fucking lean in, Nick Lachey. Every show he does, he says the same exact words. Guys, you should lean in to this process. Really lean in.
Lean into this experience.
The ones who were issued the ultimatum, the ones who are a little bit unsure about marriage, they're supposed to be like, well, I do love you deeply, but I just don't know that I'm ready for that next step. Not this season. This season, that half of the group, they come in first night. They're walking in like, oh my God, everyone here is so hot. I can't wait to get to know that person.
The girl who's sitting right across from us, Mariah, I was like, that's really interesting.
She's 24.
I'm just telling you what I thought was interesting.
It's like, hey, you're still here for your relationship, right?
I love Nick, but the grass could always be greener.
Like you haven't even officially broken up yet. And you're already like ready to move on. What are you doing? Let me start with the most insane person on the show. His name is Nick. He is 38. He's an artist with a drinking problem, and he is currently dating a 27-year-old socialite LA party girl. In the very early parts of the season, first couple episodes, Nick feels like he's gonna fall into the camp of like, hey, you issued the ultimatum, why are you flirting with other people? Because he hits it off with Vanessa.
Vanessa's great. She's gorgeous. I have strong feelings for you. They've developed quickly, but I think they're real. I mean, I know they're real.
Vanessa likes him because he is openly artistic, and that's a side of herself that she actively suppresses. And I do want to just make sure I enunciated that properly. He is openly artistic, not autistic. He's artistic. Sometimes I talk a little too fast, and the words, they jumble up a little bit.
Internally, I feel so like weird and awkward.
Really?
Yeah.
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the fucking artist club.
Okay.
They keep saying how similar they are, how well they get along. There's a moment where she's like, hey, don't let me have cheese, because I'll fart. And he's like, oh, please, fart. Yeah, go ahead. And she's like, no, it'll stink. And he's like, good. Yeah, baby, you fart. Fart for me, babe. Babe, why don't you fart from me? Make us think, babe. Like, fucking hell.
Just don't give me cheese and we'll be good.
If you fart, it's fine. I probably think it's really cute.
I'm gonna kill you.
No, I don't think it's like really cute.
These two are very likable at the start. Fart talk aside, they are very likable. The only thing that I don't like about them early on is they just keep doing the same thing, which is like, we're artists. Like, no one understands us.
I'm the only like, creative in the group.
Like, I can relate because I've always felt like I am pretty quirky and maybe a little
Offbeat.
unique or
Yeah, and I dig that.
weird.
It's like, bro, like, when you're 15, that whole, like, we're so misunderstood. That's cool. But then over time, you grow up and you get a greater sense of the world, then you realize, oh, well, everyone's unique in their own ways. Because every conversation, it's like, we're so weird, we're so quirky, no one gets us but us.
A lot of things that come up in my relationship are because I'm a weirdo.
And like I said, very early on, they are painted as the couple to, if they are going to break up with their partners, they're the most likely to get with each other, which is an option. There's always 3 options. You can get engaged, you can break up with your partner, or you can leave with somebody else. But that third option isn't really real. You're telling me you came on a show thinking about getting married to the partner that you have, but after spending a few weeks with a total stranger, you're now ready to call it off and then start a new relationship with them? You're gonna become the villain and do that? No, no one's gonna do that. Well, there is one couple that might do that this season. I shouldn't say it's impossible. Because meanwhile, there's Sandy, who is the LA socialite girl. She is hitting it off with JR. Now, Nick does not like JR. And when Nick hears that JR and Sandy kissed, he has a meltdown.
And I'm really sad. This has been one of the hardest days of my life.
At this point, obviously, they've chosen each other as partners for the experiment. So JR is with Sandy, Nick is with Vanessa. And I mentioned before, they're all technically exes with the person they came with, but there's a decorum. Don't kiss your new partner. That's just a bad look.
You're trouble.
Now, every time they get confronted, if somebody kisses another person, they always do but babe, I was just leaning into the experiment. You heard Nick Lachey, right? I was simply leaning in. It's like, no, you're being a whore. You're trying to decide if you're gonna get married to somebody else. You shouldn't be kissing somebody you just met. And Sandy and JR, they kissed before they officially partnered up for the experiment. They kissed in the dating phase. Nick does not deal well with this information because he ran into Sandy at the coffee shop randomly where she revealed that information to him. He goes back to the apartment. Vanessa's there. He starts kind of like dumping on her, but she's like, hey, Dad, don't worry. Don't worry, I'm here for you.
I don't want you to feel alone, though. Like, you do have me here.
Thank God Vanessa is there to console Nick. Except fucking plot twist. Guess who leaves in the dead of night? That's right, she is gone. She's a goner. She just leaves, and not just her. So this is the big twist early on in the show. 2 couples get up and they just walk. It's Vanessa and Dave, and then Chanel and Micah. They meet up off camera. They have a little powwow. They're like, hey, this isn't for us. Let's just ditch. And frankly, this just infuriated me. When I first watched it, I was so pissed.
Vanessa got her stuff out and she's gone.
What are we doing here? Like, some people, I get that they are in over their heads when they sign up for a show. They think they're going to be able to handle it. It's way too much for them, so they need to depart for their own mental health. However, it's another thing to want to leave the show, rope in not only your partner, but because you don't want to feel like the bad guy, you also rope in another couple so that there's enough blame to go around to where it's not all pinned on you. I don't know. Just gross. The people that are leaving, they're screwing over Nick and Mariah. There's so many castmates. But now those two don't have partners for the rest of this experiment, right? Which is the only important part of the show, is the mock marriage portion. What is it like living with somebody else? What's it like being married to somebody different than the partner that you kind of already know what that's like? But most importantly, you're screwing over us. Now, it's mostly up to the directors and producers to put you in interesting situations and to edit it in a way that's going to be, interesting for consumption for us. But there is some duty to, when you sign up for something, you're signing up to entertain. Right? That's the whole thing. Because this whole thing is voluntary. You didn't have to come onto this. You submitted a form, and then you met with casting directors. You did psych evaluations. There was like a whole lead up to this. It's not just like one day you sign up on a snap decision, and then you're there. You should know beforehand if you're committed or not. So just 1/3 of the cast just gone overnight. One of the couples comes back for the reunion to give a little bit more light to the situation. And I ended up coming around a little bit to their side. We'll discuss it once we get to that point. It's kind of crazy. There's a lot of stuff we didn't see, but that's not for now. That's for later. For now, Nick has no support system anymore. The girl said, hey, I'm going to be here for you. She's gone. Went out for milk. See you never. Meanwhile, the girl that he brought to the show is now getting physically intimate with her partner. It is unfortunate because I'm going to make fun of him a bunch. There's just no way around it, all right? But he was dealt crummy cards. That part is not his fault. Now for the making fun of him.
Why? Oh my God. Oh my fucking God.
Okay, so there is a graceful way of losing it, and then there's an embarrassing way. This is the latter.
Sandy?
Okay, we're not doing this. You need to leave. You need to leave.
Nick is showing up at their door, banging, like, hey, you gotta let me in, bro. Please let me see her. And then JR, he tells him off. JR, in this moment, he's kind of alpha.
Leave. Like you're embarrassing yourself. Oh.
And it's like, Nick, you've been blowing up her phone, calling her constantly, texting her constantly, and JR, he's had it. He's ruining the whole experience for him and Sandy.
So disrespectful. I feel so, like, violated. He wants me to go home.
He's freaking out. You saw the 3 a.m. clip?
Why?
He is not just crying to the heavens at any time of day. He's doing that at 3 a.m. Like, get some sleep, my guy. What are you doing? It's 3 a.m. God, why? God, why? Imagine trying to live in the apartment next door and you just get woken up by that.
Oh my God. Oh my fucking God.
I wrote it in my notes that Nick is a toxic apologist. He freaks out so often, but he's so quick to apologize. And not just apologize, he apologizes profusely.
And man, I made a big mistake. To be going through this alone is so fucking hard. Dude, I've never cried this much in my entire life. I've never been this spun out. I've never seen this version of myself.
I take full responsibility. I'm not in the best headspace. This whole experiment's like a whole, it's kind of weighing on me. I'm not usually like this, but I do have to take responsibility. It's all on me, and I'm so sorry. He's exhausting. I don't know how Sandy has dealt with him for years because I've only experienced him for a few hours through the show, and I'm just tired of him. Now, JR and Sandy, they are getting along suspiciously well.
I mean, like, what do you taste?
One complaint I have with her is she has a little bit of a weird fetish that comes out. You guys know how weird I think foot fetishes are? Well, she's got one. But like a specific one, she has a foot fetish, but only when that foot is covered by a Bombas sock, which I guess I can't blame her too much because Bombas on feet is kind of sexy. So maybe I also am a part of this. This video is sponsored by Bombas. Bang! You like that? How about a 2-for-1 special? Boom. Screenshot those puppies, huh? Upload it to certain sites. If you've never heard me talk about Bombas, then great news for you. I have a huge discount for you. But let it be known, Bombas is known for 2 things. Number 1, the most comfortable socks that a person could purchase. Seriously, you don't believe me? Just buy 1 or 2 pairs, put them on your feet. They will become your favorite socks you've ever owned. They design them in a way that there's no seams on them so that they don't bunch up. And also the material is so nice. They're like, it's cozy, but it's not hot. You can tell they did a lot of product testing and crafting to get the sock the way it is. Even the back heel, it protects you from the back of your shoe from, you know, scraping that heel. Oh, this is my favorite part of the sock, I swear. The second thing Bombas is known for, well, homeless shelters. Their biggest need is socks and underwear. And it makes sense. You can go right now and donate an old pair of jeans, a used sweatshirt. You can't donate old underwear and socks. They will not accept it. And they should also call the police. Why are you trying to do that? But Bombas can donate those items, and in fact, they have. Over 160 million donations they've made. There is nothing better than helping people and also getting something back in return. If you go to bombas.com/oogabooga, QR code, use code oogabooga20 at checkout, you're gonna get 20% off your first purchase. But I do have to warn you, okay? If you've never worn Bombas socks before, you try them on, wear them, you're not going to want to wear anything else. Get ready to fall in love with feet, you weirdo. Genuinely fantastic socks. I've never seen a single person ever knock their quality, knock the company, anything. Bombas is phenomenal. Get you some socks, and let's get back to this video. Thanks, Bombas. JR came in with Zaina, and I am about 75% sure that JR and Zaina were not a couple before they came into the show. I struggle so hard to believe it. There is no chemistry between them.
Life is short. You gotta let people know you love them.
One of my complaints with this show is that all the contestants, they come in and they are allowed to keep their phones throughout the whole experiment. So while you're on your 3-week mock marriage with somebody new, you're in constant communication. All the couples are constantly texting, calling every night. That bothers me because I want them to lean in. I want them to lean in, okay? I want the doubts. I talk about this all the time. Every reality TV dating show, this is my favorite concept. It's when they isolate people. They isolate couples and then force them to make a choice. But one thing that Zaina admits in an argument is that her and JR are not texting during this experiment. They're leaning in, okay?
You're telling me you haven't talked to JR at all?
Honestly, like JR and I have really detached ourselves.
You're sleeping in the same bed as a complete stranger while you're also like going on dates with them and meeting their families. The fact that you're not talking is insane. And when JR and Zaina get back together for their little mock marriage, I don't even want to say they have zero chemistry. They have negative chemistry. There is a point where they go on a date with the cameras around. Zaina asks JR what his aspirations are, what his past relationships were like. They've been dating for 3 years? They live together? Oh, I'm sure. And then he proceeds to tell her about some of his like core memories that helped shape him into who he is today. And she listens as though she's never heard these stories before.
People told me I was ugly all the time in school. You know, you question God. Like, why am I like this? I feel like as I got older, I'm starting to embrace who I am and not caring what people think.
That's really, really, really beautiful.
3 years. What the fuck did you talk about for 3 years? Plus, let's not forget JR. That first night, there's a mixer. He is pulling moves on these women. Just like, it's the first night. So the first day, they do like, kind of like a speed dating with everybody. So everyone kind of gets to know each other. But then that night, they do a mixer where everyone can, you know, mingle and they can get to know each other, and it's a little bit less formal. And that's when I knew this season was going to get messy because, oh my God, JR is just immediately feeling up Sandy. His girlfriend, who he just did the breakup with, is in the same room. And also her boyfriend is also in the same room. I do not like JR. He moves like a frat boy. He's 34 years old, by the way. Gross, old. There's a moment where he wants to kiss Sandy during the dating week.
You got really nice lips.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. Like, we all know what that move means. I think the thing that frustrates me most about that moment is I do know that if that came up, he would be like, oh no, she clearly put the moves on me first. I just complimented her lips. Is that illegal? What's wrong with that? JR just doesn't have a whole lot of depth. He only speaks when he's prompted, you know, or if he's asked like a direct question, or if he's allowed to talk about himself. I do remember a moment, I think he was talking to Aria during the dating week. She was like, oh, wait. Something. And then he jumped in, he cut her off, and he was like, oh yeah, me too.
Part of me does feel like a little guilty because
That's natural. I'm actually catching feelings, and I don't know how to feel about it, right? And I still have love for my ex, so it's like...
He thought his realization was more important than hers, so he like jumped in and cut her off. And now like in a vacuum, that's just like one moment. However, this is like repeated things that are happening with him. And I notice a pattern. I think JR is mostly just interested in JR. JR actually has the option to choose between Sandy and Aria for the mock marriage. They both want him for their partner. He obviously chooses Sandy because we've talked about, you know, their relationship. And that's a huge win for Aria. She doesn't realize it yet. Initially, she didn't really want to partner with the one that she ended up with. But we'll talk about that relationship that she ends up in because it ends up being the best relationship on the entire show. But in the end, I think JR, if it was left to him, I think he wanted to leave with Sandy. I think it was Nick constantly blowing up Sandy's phone and getting in their way that kind of like guilted her into not getting with JR. I don't know. It's weird with Sandy because there's clear emotional connection happening with JR. But then on the final night of their first mock marriage, they do a girls' night and a boys' night. And on girls' night, Sandy speaks with Zaina.
There's nothing between us. I'm trying to like train him on things so that he could show up better for you.
That is not at all the vibe she was giving this entire season. I didn't want JR. I just wanted to improve him for you. Oh, it's not true at all. You have been kissing and cuddling JR at every opportunity you had. Guys' night is happening at the same time, like I mentioned, and Nick comes in, and this is the first interaction he's had with JR since the explosion at the door.
Huh?
I'm very sorry.
Okay. We could talk about it.
I made a big mistake.
I don't know what JR is thinking. Like, his body language is laid back and relaxed, but he's kind of being confrontational with Nick. And then Scotty comes in And then he starts shit with Scotty out of the blue.
I just heard some shit.
What did you hear? Let's get into it.
Who is Scotty? You're gonna wish you didn't test that. Well, I'm gonna tell you, he is with Zaina for the mock marriage, which is JR's partner. Maybe. They bonded over the fact that they were both the ultimatum givers. And Zaina, she's feeling her ticking biological clock. Like, she wants to have children. She's talking about freezing her eggs. She wants a man who is ready to commit to her and get married. Scotty is that. Scotty does want to get married. But Scotty is also a snake. I hate him the most, and I am going to make you hate him just as much as I do. Let me take you back to Mixer Night, where everyone first met each other in a casual environment. Scotty is sitting in the corner like he's Mafia Don. Shades on, with that attitude like everyone's there to meet him. As if this whole show is about him, and everyone else is just wasting screen time between the Scotty segments. He and Zaina get along very well early on. He's like making physical contact with her. She likes it.
Scotty came hard.
What?
Scotty came hard.
Let me tell you something. There is no reason on the first day you fake break up with your partner that you need to be holding hands with someone new in the same room as the person you came with. This is garbage, and Arya is rightfully upset. Scotty brought Arya here. He gave the ultimatum. And now, first opportunity he has, he's holding hands with another girl, openly flirting and touching with her in the corner. Bold. That is bold, Scotty. Italics, underlined, all of it.
Like holding hands
With who?
with her, like right in front of me.
With Zaina?
With who? Was Zaina? Homie's gonna try. He's gonna bust out the denial voice. Me? I have no clue. Whatever do you mean? Me?
Maybe I should go do that with JR and see how upset you get.
Listen. How long were you talking to JR for?
So don't come at me and do this.
Why are you yelling?
Oh, did you notice that? Now, my first viewing, I thought they were just fighting, and then all of a sudden, he just kind of reached his breaking point, and it was at a random moment, and he snapped at her. But after going back and having experienced the whole show, it was specifically because JR was brought up. And over the course of the show, we are going to come to find out that Scotty has an inferiority complex to JR.
Stop coming at me like that.
I'm done.
She is not done. I was hoping they were going to break up, and then she was going to be like, hey, I might just get into a relationship with the next guy. That's not the case. They worked it out. They're still together, technically. Well, they're broken up, but, you know, they're still leaning in. Let's touch on that inferiority complex thing I was talking about. Over the course of the first few weeks that Scotty and Zaina are together, things are going really well. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Zaina and JR, they're not in a relationship. And I also think that Scotty, especially after that blow up, he'd be willing to jump ship. Especially because Arya's not giving him the answer that he wants. He wants to marry her, but Arya's not certain. But something happens. Scotty and Zaina have a conversation, and things go sideways so fast. So they are talking about doing an activity, going on a date. And at first, Scotty recommends an air balloon, hot air balloon ride. The second idea he has is a cryotherapy session. And neither idea she likes. She rejects both. And you can feel his mood shift.
No more cryotherapy talk. Like, I'm over it. Like, I'm over that shit. If you don't want to get taken out, just say that. It's all good.
And I can see why he's a bit upset. Like, he's making a real effort. He thought up some fun ideas for them to partake in together. And her reaction of just being like, not really into that. Like, I put effort into planning a date, and it's okay to reject it. At least be like, hey, okay, well, how about we do this instead? You know, offer something, a different suggestion. Reciprocate my effort a little bit. I can understand his frustration. But you wait until he finds out that this bitch ate without him.
Did you eat without me?
Yeah. I figured you ate without me.
You figured wrong.
What a psychopath. Just insane energy. If he was joking, that is a hilarious delivery. But he's not. And I don't know if that makes it funny or just far more genuinely concerning for her.
This is just not
I
was looking for in a trial wife.
Morning.
Someone that just eats without me.
My ideal trial wife, somebody who eats food within 3 meters of me. That's my expectations. That brings us back to boys' night. And then I mentioned before, JR and Scotty got into a little bit of a heated match of words. JR accuses Scotty of talking garbage behind JR's back.
I just heard some shit. There's rumors going around saying that I was only here for a hall pass.
Why do you think those rumors came from me?
So this is a big thing for the show. People are always paranoid that they only came onto the show so that they could be with another person for 3 weeks. and then they could, you know, have a little bit of fun, hook up with somebody new. It's on a technicality. We weren't technically together, right? We were on a break. They want to Ross it, if you will.
We were on a break!
It's funny that JR is upset at the insinuation that he's only there for a hall pass because it is objectively true. In fact, in the finale, the reunion, they play a montage of JR being a complete horn dog and explicitly saying at one point, I'm here for a hall pass.
Hey, I'm trying to be on that vibe for 3 weeks. I got a hall pass.
But in this moment at boys' night, none of them know this information.
Why do you think those rumors came from me? What could possess me to be like, JR's here for a hall pass?
You tell me.
And this is where I'm like, oh, this guy's manipulative as hell. He's like, oh, I have no clue. Why would I ever say that? What would I have to gain from something like that? He just asks questions. Instead of addressing things, he like tries to lead you. There is a very clear motive why you would talk trash, because you are currently dating his partner. Why would you want Zaina to think less of JR? I wonder. Because you want to keep your options open. You want Zaina and JR to crumble so that if you want Zaina, she's there for the taking. Right? Very clear motive. Listen to the very end here.
What does that do for me? You feel me? Like,
Trying to fill shit in her head so that she opens up more to you know what I'm saying?
you really think that
It's very manipulative.
Did you hear him in the background there? He had deflected, and then at the very end, he was like, do you really think that? As he was cut off. He was about to ask another leading question.
really think that it's very manipulative.
What would I have to gain from something like this? That is just a super manipulative tactic to, instead of addressing something head on, you just kind of talk around it, ask questions, kind of get them on a little bit of a loop-de-doo, as they say in the psychological community. The loop-de-doo method. Yeah, they teach it in the college classes, psych classes, so. But crazier than that moment is when Scotty goes home to Zaina and he has a real foul attitude with her because he thinks that Zaina is the one that tattled on him.
What's wrong? Do you need space right now?
I want you to notice a few things. I'm going to play that again. Notice that his eyes are red and his voice is cracking.
like I was just like, bro, who the fuck do you think I am?
I think that Scotty has been crying because of his confrontation with JR. All while being like, you can't intimidate me.
I don't give a shit about how many weights you lift, how big you are, how much you eat per day. I don't play that shit.
I don't care how big you are. I don't care how manly of a physique you have, how big your chest is, how bulging your biceps and triceps are. I don't let people talk bad on my name. Not even big, burly, scary guys like him. Oh, he's not here, right? He's not here?
He refused to say where he got that information from.
So you automatically think it's me?
I never said that.
Just more manipulation. I didn't say it was you. No, bro, but you heavily insinuated it. You clearly have her as your number one suspect, right? To be like, oh, I didn't say it was you. Why are you getting so defensive? It's almost like you have something to hide. If I didn't say it was you and you are acting all defensively, it's kind of telling me that maybe you have a guilty conscience, It's like some cop tactic.
I don't give a shit about how many weights you lift, how big you are, how much you eat per day.
Nowhere did Zaina press him about being intimidated by JR. That was just in the back of his mind. He was thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it accidentally slipped out in conversation. I'm not intimidated. I don't care how much he lifts. It's like, yeah, that's not relevant to anything. Now Zaina starts picking up on it, and she asked him directly.
Were you intimidated?
Hell no. You think I'm intimidated by JR?
No, I'm just...
That is the most he reacts all season. Like, his voice goes up, oh, hell no. And then he catches himself, and he, like, goes back into his Scotty tactics of asking questions.
Were you intimidated?
Hell no. You think I'm intimidated by JR?
No, I'm just...
He was about to blow up, man. Like, it clearly gets to him. If he wasn't intimidated, he would just be like, no, why would I be intimidated by him? But instead, he's like, what? How dare you?
Like, it's a lot.
What relevance does that have to the conversation?
What relevance? You brought up how muscular he was. That is something you brought into this conversation.
Nothing is concrete about how he got information.
Why are you raising your voice?
This dude can't be serious. Someone should actually go to college, some professor, make them watch a show, and they're gonna make a lecture about all of the Scotty's red flags. These are just like textbook manipulation tactics. After talking it out with Zaina, he then comes to, I guess, the conclusion where he is no longer suspicious of Zaina. So Scotty apologizes in the way that you would expect Scotty to apologize.
Okay, well, I'm sorry if you feel like my energy was super off.
I'm sorry if you feel like my energy was off. It wasn't, but you may have misjudged my energy with your poor deciphering abilities.
Do you accept my apology?
Yes.
Are you sure?
What a freak. Do you accept my apology? Say yes. say yes, and you can never bring this up again.
Do it now. Do it now. Do it.
And check this out immediately afterwards.
You look alright, by the way.
Thank you.
Dog. I hate Scotty. That's his. I can see it. I can see it. I can see a whole relationship being with him. It's just like a pattern. I've seen it once, and I can promise you it's the same every single time. Scotty now feels bad because he accused Zaina of something. He thought that Zaina essentially snitched on him to JR. But now he's like, oh, I don't think she did. So instead of apologizing, he's like, hey, I'm sorry if you feel like my energy was off. And then he was like, okay, well, now I need to pivot out of this. So what if I compliment her? What if I try to like charge the energy and get it a little bit more sexual so that we can move away from, you know, me being wrong? Taking accountability? Nah. Compliment to distract and then changing the topic? Yeah. Scotty has another lash out because one night Zaina went to the bathroom and she took her phone like a bitch.
I don't really know anyone else that wakes up in the middle of the night at 1:30 and takes their phone with them to the bathroom.
I actually don't take my phone to the bathroom.
Super defensive. For what?
Accuse, get them riled up, call them out for then getting riled up, which only irritates them more and makes them more riled up. Oh God, get that college professor on the duty.
Speculations about what?
You're escalating.
What is the intention behind that comment?
Let's switch to Arya. This is gonna be the most fun part of the video because this is the most fun relationship of the whole season. Arya initially wanted to pair with JR, but JR essentially at the ceremony, whatever the pairing moment, he chose Sandy, so Arya was left with Caleb, the only other option. Caleb and Mariah, they felt like fish out of water in this season because they are calm, they are measured, they're not drama fiends, they are not here for the television show. I think that they are here actually for the experiment. I thought they were gonna be boring, and especially once like the two couples left and Mariah and Caleb were like one of the couples remaining, I was like, oh great, well, two couples are gone, one of them's boring, we're really getting down there on numbers. But I was so wrong. Mariah and Caleb are fantastic because Arya, who has only known toxic relationships, she is now forced for 3 weeks to be in a relationship with a healthy man.
With you, it brings like a refreshing feeling. Like you're like, oh wow, there are like nice guys out there.
He's mindful of her. He reaffirms her. He gives her comfort and space. He never makes her uncomfortable. He has no ulterior motives. And she even mentions, like, at first, she is not attracted to him, but he shows her so much care and kindness over the first few days that she slowly comes to find him attractive.
I truly feel cared for and respected. I have never felt so comfortable before.
I know I used the word platonic in the beginning, but it definitely changed.
And now that she's starting to have feelings for Caleb, it turns out that Caleb is also starting to have feelings for Arya.
You've done everything you could to just make me feel comfortable. This is the extent you're willing to go to. I can only imagine what that'd be like if you were married.
Problem? Caleb still has Mariah, who she was one of two people whose partner fled in the night. Just like Nick, she was left alone for the first 3 weeks of this experiment. And for those asking, Nick and Mariah didn't have partners. Why didn't they pair up for, you know, a mock marriage? And they both agreed, like, it's just not right. Like, we're not really into each other. It's not, you know, nah. They would rather be alone than be with each other. But naturally, Caleb has a turmoil of feelings because he's getting closer to Arya while knowing that Mariah isn't getting her end of the bargain with the show, where she's not allowed to explore any feelings with somebody else and, you know, I guess grow and improve and come to find what she wants through this experience. So Caleb's dealing with a lot. And what does he do with all these feelings? He does what any good man does. He suppresses those feelings and denies that there's anything going on at all.
I was definitely insecure. Could this potentially be more than friendship of what has been communicated?
I don't think it's something to read into as if like there's maybe something deeper than that.
And the best part is he's lying to himself. He's telling Mariah that it's only a friendship that he and Arya have. There's no emotional bond between me and her. We're just friends. He believes he's telling the truth because he's denying it to himself. And this harkens back to what I was talking about. Like, no one's gonna throw away a years-long relationship because they met somebody new for a few weeks. So I was very certain that he wasn't going to leave Mariah. But when he gets back together with Mariah after the first mock marriage to do his mock marriage with her, it's a little dicey at the beginning because Caleb doesn't really want to talk about his relationship with Arya. He wants to talk about himself and Mariah and their future forward. But Mariah has all these questions because on girls' night, Aria came to her and was like, yeah, me and Caleb were starting to develop kind of romantic feelings. Like there's some sort of emotional bond there. I just want to be honest with you. And Caleb's being like, no, there's no emotional bond. We're just friends. What are you talking about? So Mariah needs to try to justify like who's lying? Who do I believe? And she wants some sort of clarity, but Caleb doesn't want to talk about it because he doesn't want to come to terms with his own feelings. So instead he's like shutting her down and he gets like upset very easily.
This whole conversation kind of sucks, to be honest.
I don't know how to get back on track with you. Will there ever be a moment where you just like naturally come to me with like a hug?
And again, it's not toxic. Like they communicate very well. It's just a little cold, you know, it's not dramatic toxic, but it's still good. It's still fun to watch. When it comes to Aria, I mentioned before, she's had a lot of troublesome relationships with men, which is why the relationship with Caleb was so refreshing to her. And we've seen Scotty. We've seen the tactics he's pulled. Like, he's not a good guy. He's manipulative as hell.
You look high, by the way.
And she's a little bit off kilter because now she's trying to rectify what her relationships leading up to this point, what they have been like, and what they could potentially be. So I think the best thing for her is just to kind of get some space, get some time to herself. She could be single for a little bit to just kind of orient herself. One thing I can say for certain is that she needs some time away from Scotty for her own well-being.
Will you marry me?
Yes, 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 yes.
Well, deeper into the abyss she goes. We do learn in the reunion that she called off the engagement the very next day. She said she had regrets about saying yes.
We started to being like, oh, tell your family, call your family, and I didn't want to.
She said she was like just swept up in the moment, and he was saying all these sweet things. Scotty can talk. Like, he's a good talker, as most manipulators are. And as she was walking off, she was like, oh, why did I do that? Fuck. Caleb and Mariah, they also get engaged. They have a little bit of an awkward tiff at the reunion because they are engaged. They're planning their wedding. At the reunion, Mariah confronts Caleb about how hurt she feels over the Aria situation.
You did not admit to having an emotional connection to Aria, so I completely felt blindsided.
What's odd to me about that is handle that privately. Like, the show's over at this point, you know what I mean?
Are you fucking kidding me, Caleb? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
I can understand airing out your grievances with other contestants or if you broke up with somebody on the show, but you guys are a team now. Like, you guys are getting married. You guys are going to become one. To air your grievance publicly with Caleb, like it's you versus him, that just felt weird. Like, she can be rightfully upset about the situation, but you could talk to him privately about it. At least that's how I view it. I think it's a bad look on her part because they've probably watched the show together. They probably had long discussions about their feelings, about the situations that they were put in. She must have expressed her disappointment with him privately already. So why now do that again publicly? Aria also comes in hot to the reunion. She's like, I got all the receipts. And I'm like, oh boy, she's gonna have some good stuff. And turns out her receipt that she had on Caleb was that he looked at her Instagram stories for a couple days. So this is how I see it. Let me just say that. This is how I view it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not in their heads. I think that Aria is clinging to Caleb because Caleb chose Mariah, you know, the partner that he came with. I think Aria would have been over the moon if Caleb had chosen her, but I think that since he's basically like, no, I'm gonna be with my partner, she's kind of just like reaching for any sort of connection she has with him. That's a tactic that I've seen before. It's like, it doesn't really matter what the interaction is, positive, negative, as long as there's like continued interactions. The only thing you can't have is no communication. As long as there's some sort of like communication that can be had, you can always turn it around, but you can't turn things around if you're not talking. So she's like trying to find some reason to be upset with him or to like, you know, have some sort of dialogue. And I do feel bad for her because since the show ended and up to the reunion, it seems like a lot has happened. Her and Scotty are no longer together. There was a miscarriage. There was a lot that went on. So I do hope that she finds somebody that treats her well. He ain't sitting on that couch with her, I'll tell you that much. Nick, he and Sandy, they broke up on engagement day. Oh man, this is the worst. So Nick reaches into his pocket for something and she like flinches. He's like, oh, please God, no.
What?
And he freaks out, which is justified because everyone knows this is engagement day and you are deciding whether or not you're going to be together. And if she says no, this is the end of your relationship. He says at the reunion that he wasn't reaching for a ring. He was reaching for something else. I don't remember what it was. I don't know if I buy that, but in the end, it doesn't really matter.
I was not going for a ring. I was going for a piece of paper.
Oh, by the way, one of the couples decided not to come back for the reunion. That was the couple that left in the middle of the night. The couple that came back was Vanessa and Dave.
There were just things that made me feel really uncomfortable. Conversations that you and I had that you actually pulled me outside or into the room where there weren't mics and cameras. There was just not a learning opportunity in the situation living with you.
I could see how many times she practiced her speech in the mirror. She very clearly came with intentions. I think she knows that she is going to be painted as the villain on the show because she left the producers high and dry, and they're gonna take out their anger and they're gonna give them a bad edit. She came in with very specific things to say and how to say them to kind of garner as much sympathy as she can. And maybe we should have sympathy for her because she was kind of put in at a terrible spot. She starts getting closer to Nick and they decide they're gonna be partners for the experiment. And then on the first day that they move in together, he pulls her aside to a place where there's not cameras, and he's like, oh, hey, so one thing I want to let you know, I do have some alcohol issues and also some issues I'm recovering. But eventually the cameras leave, and apparently he got into like a really dark place. He was acting erratically.
You were just pretty like ugly, and I mean that was the first day.
And if what Vanessa is saying is true about how Nick intentionally lied to the producers and directors and casting, even like the psych eval, like he lied about certain things during that, then I too would be freaked out. I remember one time I got a job at a warehouse, and it was orientation day. There was this friendly guy, his name might have been like Jeff or something, I don't know. Since it's orientation day, I thought we were just gonna come in, watch a couple training videos, sign whatever, and then it's Friday, right? Like, we'll start Monday. But after we finish the training videos, it's just before lunch, and the boss comes in and is like, you guys ready to work? And I was like, say what now? What are you talking about? I thought I was going home. I didn't bring a lunch because I didn't think I was going to need one, and neither did Jeff. Jeff was like, you want to grab some, we can go up to the gas station. There's one up the street. So I hopped in his truck. We ended up passing the gas station, and I was like, Dad, he's like, oh, let me just drive by my house real quick. It'll just be a couple minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. Riding along in his cheap pickup, like, oh, this is fine. He pulls into his driveway, opens the door. He's like, he looks back. He's like, hey, don't come inside, okay? I was like, I'm not even taking my seatbelt off. Why would you think I'm coming inside? He goes inside for a couple minutes, comes back out, and then we go to the gas station and then go back to work. All fine, right? Nothing, no big deal. Except a couple days later, Jeff is not at work. And I'm like, oh, hey, where's Jeff? And they're like, oh, you didn't hear it. He got fired. I was like, what did he get fired for? And they're like, oh, he didn't pass his background check. And I was like, the guy I got into his truck with? The guy that drove me to his house and told me not to go inside? He has something in his background where they wouldn't let him have the job, even though he was working the job for a couple days. They didn't do it. Okay, great. Like, maybe you do the background check before I get in his truck. I don't know. Maybe just thought. So I know how she's feeling. Kinda, not really, but like there's some semblance. I understand being in an uncomfortable situation because they're living together and the camera crew is only around on occasion. They're virtually strangers. He's admitting to lying about his mental health. If I was living with him as a guy, I'd be freaked out. As a woman, oh, I can't even tell you. Especially after he is expressing interest in me romantically. We gotta sleep in the same bed? No, we don't. I'm leaving in the middle of the night. Dave, who is Vanessa's partner, his arc, although short, is also very funny. He was excited to come on the show. He was given the ultimatum, and he came in thinking he was going to be the belle of the ball. He thought he was going to have all the women falling over him, and he was going to flirt with a bunch of different women.
I mean, there's a very high likelihood that I connect with somebody during the dating week.
And then immediately, Nick takes a liking to Vanessa, and none of the women really have any sort of like emotional connection to him or have the hots for him. And now he's just like, oh, shit. I think I want to leave.
I don't think that it would do us any justice to exit this early.
No, I'm not saying that.
He did convince Vanessa to leave eventually. He was like, oh yeah, no, I have all the answers I need. I realized that I do want to marry you. And then cut to the reunion and they're like, oh, are you guys engaged? And he's like, no, we haven't decided yet if we're getting married.
So I think it was very enlightening for both of us to see that we were aligned as we talked about things that were like 5-10 years down the road.
On a happy note, Zaina and JR. I thought they weren't the couple coming in. And then all of a sudden, at the engagement day, he starts saying some of the sweetest things to Zaina, and she is lighting up. He talks about how blissful their 3-week trial marriage was. He tells her that she has shown him a love that he has never experienced before, and before this experience, before the show, he wasn't ready to receive it. But now it's different.
You know, coming into this, I had a lot of preconceived judgments on marriage, on you. Are you doing it just because you want a ring or rushing your time clock? And, you know, looking back, I'm like, that was stupid. Like, you're just looking for a commitment.
He continues by saying that he thinks that she would make an amazing wife and mother, and he wants to make her happy and fight really hard and work hard to provide that for her.
I think you make a fantastic wife, mother. When I think about that, I vision myself loving you and giving you 100% of what I have to make you happy and fighting for our family. I can see all that with you. I don't think I'm at that point to give you what you deserve.
You know, I want to be upset, but I love a good misdirect. You know, some of you won't get it. Like, it's just the perfect conclusion to say all the right things to make her think that you are going to propose and then say you're not ready for those things. Reject her. It's diabolical and I appreciate it. I thought that he and Sandy would eventually date after the show ended because both those couples broke up. They were all single and apparently they've barely spoken at all. I do think overall the show's concept needs some tweaking. Because I don't think they know what they want to be. They want the proposals. They want the engagement. They want all the fluffy, feel-good stuff. Yet they always tease and cut the sound bites to make it sound like everyone's thinking about, you know, jumping ship and meeting somebody new.
Love is not enough. Why did we come here?
At some point, we're gonna have to decide, are we doing this or are we not doing this?
In fact, that's how the engagement episode began. They made JR and Sandy get together and they cliffhangered like episode 8 to be like, oh, are they meeting each other for the engagement day? But really, they just forced them to come together on that day to talk about how, you know, they're gonna go back with their partners and talk things out. The same thing happened with Arya and Caleb, where they kept playing sound bites to be like, oh, it's not over between us. We might end up together. And it's like, no, Caleb's gonna be with the person he came with. Like, that's so obvious. So they want the heartwarming stuff, but they want to tease you with like the gross, grimy personality stuff, which is like, I don't know, choose one. Like, do you want your contestants to like challenge themselves and be better for the partner that they came with? Or do you want them to be tempted and potentially leave their partner and you want that drama? Like, you have to choose one because they're two very different routes, and it trying to combine them, it feels odd to be like, I want to be with you forever, but I'm also really tempted to be with somebody else. It's like, no, that doesn't make sense. Those are incompatible. And I don't know how you guys feel if you watch the show. I tend to lean towards, I like the mess. I like the anarchy. I talked about it. I like that. Like, every time somebody ends up with the person they came with, I'm less invested. I'm a little bit disappointed. The reason for that is because we are seeing, I guess, a problem in the relationship. So there's reason to root against the person they came with. And if you make a connection with somebody new and it's good, like Caleb and Arya, you're watching the birth and all like the beginning important moments of that relationship. So of course we're going to root for that. So when they don't end up together, it's a little bit of a letdown. I think the show should just juice it up a little bit, you know? Give rewards for couples that break up for good. Force people to make hard choices. Don't allow them to contact each other during the 3 weeks, while also leaving like little breadcrumbs like, hey, there's a little cash prize if you break up. Bring in singles for the contestants to do a mock marriage with, because it's hard enough for one person to decide, not only do I not want to be with my partner that I was thinking about marrying, but now I need to convince the person that I'm doing the mock marriage with to also leave the partner that they came with that they were thinking about marrying. It's almost impossible for one person to make that decision, but to have two people do that simultaneously, it's not going to happen. But if one person's single, then there's nothing to lose. That'd be so much more interesting. Those are just some ideas, just to spice it up a little bit. Put some spice on that thing. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And the video's over. Like, I'm gonna end the video on that. Please come back next time. I won't do any more Haktua jokes. I promise. God, the next video is gonna have like 36 views total. I'm so sorry. What have I done? Either way, I am washed clean. That is the ultimatum, season 3. The stink is off me. It is on you. Good luck getting clean. It's going to be difficult. This was an especially stinky season. Thank you to Bombas for sponsoring this video as well. And I will see you later, bitch. How do I end these videos? Bye, Bear Claw. Bye. Bye.